Madam Speaker, we don't think we should remove sanctions as long as we see those human rights violations that are still happening within Burma. We think that there are some changes that are happening within Burma. For example, we have had election, even though that is a small step, we think that is because of the effects of having sanctions and international pressure. We think that because of that kind of slow improvement, we think that we need to still keep those sanctions in order to have real change. So, what am I going to talk about today? I'm going to talk about two things, right? Why you should not uplift the sanctions in principle. And secondly, I'm going to talk about how it is not possible in the first place. So, what have they talked about so far today? They talk about, there's problem with Burma trading with China. Their problem was, okay, China is communist. Therefore, if they trade with Burma, Burma will turn communist. We don't think that is the case because China has non-intervention policy. They don't mess with foreign policy. And also, there are tons of countries that trade with China. We don't see them turning communist at the end of the day. And secondly, right, they talk about how Thailand doesn't want to cut ties with Burma because that's the only tie that they have. Exactly, madam. Because now the moment the EU intervenes, it's for internal, policy, right? So that what the Burmese junta will do is they will cut ties with those European countries. We now have some sort of diplomatic ties with those European Union members, even though they have put sanctions on Burma. So we think that they are making the situation worse by allowing the EU to actually intervene, and when that moment happens, that kind of worse situation will happen. And then thirdly, they talk about China is the only partner that Myanmar is actually trading with. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not true. For example, Thailand for a fact, and India and Japan and all those Asian countries, they actually trade with Burma. So we don't think they are fact, what they claim was true. So get your facts straight. I'm from Burma, so I know better. So my first point, right? Why you should not uplift sanctions in principle, right? The very reason we have those European Union have put sanctions on Burma was because they had really bad human rights violations. Let me give you a bit of context, right? There were a lot of protests happening because of dictator rule in 1998, and that's why a lot of people rose up against the government, and government brutally cracked down those people. And also, therefore, we had that election, and there was a fraud, and there was not honored by the government. And also in 2007, there were like so many protests led by monks, and there was also brutally cracked down by people. And there have been like more than 2,000 prisoners in Burmese prisons. So we think that with this kind of abuse, with this kind of human rights violations, we don't think it is right for the EU to actually lift the sanction, especially when you still see that kind of human rights violations are still happening. However, like I've told you before, there have been election, and there have been Aung San Suu Kyi has been released, and also, although limited, she is out and she can now actually do things like, for example, meeting with the president himself. So we think that that kind of improvement is already happening. So we think that we need to actually push even further to actually have real changes. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we have to do. We don't think economic motive should be the reason why EU actually lift those sanctions. We think that what we have to do is that you care about the public and you care about the citizen, and that's why you care about the citizens, and you see the tangible results of the government actually improving. And we think that only then you should actually lift those sanctions. Yes.
How is it that democracy is actually a progress when Aung San Suu Kyi can go around shaking hands and never participate on any political platform, or that election can never allow any chance for opposition to win?
Just yet. So we think that Aung San Suu Kyi may not be the leader of the country yet, but we think that she is now actually freer than before. So she was in prison. Whatever she wanted to say, it wasn't hard. But now she is free, and she's actually having meetings with the president of Myanmar. So we think that that kind of improvement is already there. That's why we need, and this is because of these sanctions that was like specifically targeted at those dictators. So we think that that actually is working. So we actually should push it further. So my second argument, right?
Sir.
So please sit down. Trade with EU won't actually produce that kind of drastic change. And in fact, it is not possible, ladies and gentlemen. That is because the paradox of the two principles of the EU and Burma. Burma, we all know it is a dictatorial country, and we think that it has been very successful in terms of keeping its power. So we think that it gains its power majorly through abusing its citizens and no free press, that kind of thing. So no freedom of movement, and we think that a lot of rights are not given to the citizens of the country. And we think that that's why in the first place, they want to trade with those countries, only countries that they can actually manipulate. For example, Thailand and those ASEAN countries who they actually don't have a say in terms of their internal affairs. So we think that that's the reason why they trade with China and ASEAN countries, because they don't intervene in domestic politics. So we think that even though if they want to trade with the European, they will do only on one condition, which is EU won't actually not intervene in domestic politics. So we think that if EU's reason is to actually change Burma, then we don't think that is going to happen, because government, like they have agreed, right? Burma will actually cut ties with the EU, European Union, as soon as these people try to intervene in domestic politics. So we think that that's a bad thing, and that's not going to happen. They haven't proved that that kind of trade will actually happen, that kind of things can actually happen within Burma and EU without changing anything first. So what have I told you so far, ladies and gentlemen? I have told you that we have to uplift sanctions on the basis that the government has actually improved its human rights violation. The government has actually started to care about its people, and also we already talked about how sanction has actually provided some change, and we should actually further impose sanctions. Because of that, we are very, very proud to oppose. Thank you.